Hello, thank you for listening. This is the near death experience of Xue Mei. That's XUE-MEI. And this experience occurred in 1996 and was documented on July 24th of 2017. And this experience was in Chinese and has been translated. Open quote. I was raised under the influence of my father, who was strict and authoritarian since childhood, so my mind was deep rooted on Marxist theory. Also, I was an active member in the Communist Party in college. When I started working, I was ambitiously longing to become a successor of the party in both socialist minded and professionally competent. Hence, I disliked idealism, having no attachment with any religious or superstitions. Nevertheless, incredible things happened to me, especially since I was a die-hard atheist. The illness might have been initiated due to several cold and hard winters. On top of this, I was a workaholic. Each year, my chronic coughs always began in autumn and continued to winter, and then lingered until the end of spring and lasted to the beginning of summer. One autumn of that particular year, my prolonged coughing ailment broke out again. I went to a local clinic every day to have an antibiotic intravenous IV treatment as I usually did before. I arrived at the clinic around 8 p.m. The doctors told me that a specific lot of penicillin that was used on me 2 days ago was given to treat a child just recently. That I needed to use a new lot, so they did a skin test on me first. It was a positive result on my wrist with a big 2-cent size bulging redness on my skin that spread like pseudopodia. I hesitated a few minutes before asking the doctor, "Is it okay to have a reaction like this?" The doctor pondered a while and then replied, "It is a false positive due to a new lot was used on you. It should be all right as you had been treated with penicillin a couple days ago." However, to prevent me from having an anaphylactic shock, he gave me a Finnegan shot. Additionally, he injected dexamethasone into my intravenous drip. I felt confident and relaxed afterwards. I then walked into patient ward and was lying down on a bed. A nurse hooked me up with an IV and then left to attend other patients. Shortly after, there was a train-like screeching tinnitus sound. Suddenly, I fell into a dark tunnel, and I was charging forward. I felt tremendously apprehensive, asking myself, what is wrong with me? I am fine just now, but how come everything changed? I wanted to stop and go back, but I was moving uncontrollably forward and could not head back. I screamed frantically, yet I was mute. I attempted to struggle through, but still my effort was futile. I perceived myself as a speck hurling in an eternal circular pathway. Although my flesh lay in the physical world, I, my soul, entered into a dimension with a barrier that separated me and my spirit. Clearly, I realized that it was not a dream. Instead, there was something wrong with the intravenous drip. I had an allergic reaction to penicillin. I underwent panic, felt frightened, vulnerable, and despaired while floating in this endless tunnel. I knew obviously my body still lay in bed, but I could not go back into it any more. Is this death? I contemplated. If it is, why am I very clear-headed? I did not disappear, but rather I was isolated from the physical world. I felt no pain. I was hovering like a feather and feeling very cozy. To explain exactly what I felt as something in the unseen world, it seemed like there was a stream of beings guided me. They affirmed my answers, clarified my confusions, and comforted my bewildered heart. I did not know how to describe the stream of beings. They were silent and amorphic, yet full of kindness, brightness, compassion, and amiability. They answered all my questions. I felt I was being led and enveloped by a spring sunshine. I understood they were beings in a much higher level than me and in the spiritual realm. I called them prophet, the wisdom who communicated to me telepathically, revealing the true colors of the universe, purpose of life, and opened the door of death so I could have a glimpse of the other dimension. Instantaneously, I was no longer in the lengthy dark tunnel. Alternatively, I was in a bright, warm, and pure world. I was completely relieved. No more agonies, but instead replaced with eternal peace and bliss. My spirit asked one question after another regarding the true colors of the universe and about life and death. Wherever my conscience went, he unfolded the answers before my eyes. This world was made up of particles. When microparticles accumulated, it formed a world with thousands of collective representations, meaning specific images. For example, as to many people, the tree in front of a house is only a tree, while in this realm, it is a stacked heap of tree-shaped molecules that are drifting and cycling forever. I did see the piles of molecules flowing and surrounding this phenomenal world. While my physical body still lay in bed while given an IV drip, my conscience was free at will to watch trees outside the clinic. Am I a particle too? Yes. Human body is built with innumerable particles. They circulate, metabolize, exchange, and etc., as being all part of the movements. As for you, my spirit to be exact, you are part of the molecules who are recycling among them. Therefore, particles cluster, mobile, recycle, flow to somewhere, and then assemble to another physique. So this phenomenon keeps reoccurring. There is no life or death. It is infinite and the essence of the world, commonly known as death, which is actually a continuation on to the next phase of life, as this state you are in now. Your mind/soul is existing and thinking, obviously, but you are separated from the physical world without communication. It is like a glass door partition between you and the world. You can see everything of the physical world. However, people on the other side can't feel your existence. Being unable to communicate the situation you are in, and your loved ones have no means to understand it. Thus, I know as for death, since people you love don't understand what death truly is, so they feel sorrow for the deceased. At this moment, I became worried if my parents know I had died. Then they will be very miserable. In addition to my child, who is too young to be independent, all these worries are flashing in my mind. As our flesh is like a TV set, our consciousness is like TV programs. It is perhaps when a TV set is aged to break down, then all signals become vanished. Human's body is an aggregation of particles, particulate matter that becomes a carrier. Whether the carrier is a particulate matter or in a form of energy, it never disappears. At this moment, I was in a confused situation where my conscious and flesh were detached but still in a connected state. I felt there are several different dimensions coexisted. While my consciousness stayed in another realm, I was telepathizing with prophets and the wise whom revealed the true colors of the universe to me. At the same time, I was keen to everything in this dimension, clearly knowing things were around me, owning to the fast velocity around here. Sounds were transmitted to ears in a slow and time delay fashion. While on Earth, an old couple came to the clinic to see the doctor. When they walked by the patient ward I was in, they saw I was alone and asleep with an IV. They commented, "Look, this poor lady who has a child to take care of." People hustled in and out of the clinic, accompanied by unceasingly muffled noises. I even saw right through the walls with 2 coat hangers dangling in a closet. At once, my pager rang three times. Nurses came and asked if I wanted to answer. One of them was from the band musician who wanted to talk about our performance. The other 2 were from my dates. I was directing my somewhat unfamiliar body to nod my head sluggishly. In my NDE, I considered money, love, and passions would never be important to me anymore. I became clairvoyant, knowing what doctors would tell the patients outside of my room when they described their symptoms to the doctor, even before he opened his mouth to talk. Consequently, they were all verified at what I had perceived beforehand. I was suspended above my body to dictate it, my flesh, to take a deep, long breath, so to speak, to show a movement of being alive. Later, the doctors told me that he could not understand why I was taking Stow's breathing, which was different than a normal respiration, as when I was unconscious. When the doctor came to examine me, my afloat soul commanded my body to wink to bring his attention. My body, clung to his hand, for he would be the only person who could bring me back to my parents, child, and unfinished missions. Instantly, my spirit plunged down abruptly, feeling my head spinning. Finally, I merged into my body. When I opened my eyes to sit up, I began vomiting nonstop. Totally, I puked pickle-like dark fluid that was half full in the wash basin, and then my whole body felt empty. The doctor was astonished. "How come your small stomach has held this much stuff? It must have been a ritual cleanse." The doctor had made every effort to rescue me. When I told him about what I had been through in the last 4 hours, he was silent and listened to me before his face turned pale. I thought he was very terrified after hearing my experience. He stayed in my room to accompany me for the whole night. I have no intention to blame my doctor at all. I had a chance to experience NDE was because of his mistakes, so I had an insight of the earth and the other realm. Being intimidated by and my fear of death had diminished, as my NDE had completely changed my perspectives towards the meaning of life and the ethics of the entire world. End quote for that. Wow, Zumai, what an amazing experience you had. I feel like there's so much more to it. Let's see if some of these questions flush it out a little more. Maybe I have a lot of questions. I don't know. Describing your level of consciousness, more conscious and alert. I became clairvoyant, knowing others' thoughts, and I am capable of looking through things outside of walls and objects stored inside of closets. Question, did time seem to speed up or slow down? There is no life or death, but eternity, the true colors of the universe. Okay. Comparing your vision, I can watch neighbors and things happen outside of the walls. I watch people and cars coming and leaving outdoors. Also can tell how many coat hangers in a closet. Question, did you seem to enter some other unearthly world? Answer, a clearly mystical unearthly realm, a bright, warm, and pure world. I was relieved completely, no more agonies, but instead replaced with eternal peace and bliss. What emotions did you feel during the experience? Answer, incredible, tranquil, eternal peace, and happiness, capital H. Question, did you suddenly seem to understand everything? Answer, it was a strange state of my consciousness and body being separated, feeling they were detached, but also connected at the same time. Also, I sensed there are many different dimensions. While my conscious stayed in the other realm, I was telepathizing with prophets and the wise to reveal the true colors of the universe, and concurrently, my consciousness was still connected and noticed keenly what happened around the world where my body was. Question, did you come to a border or point of no return? Answer, thus I know as for death, since people you love don't understand what death truly is, so they feel sorrow for the deceased. At this moment, I became concerned about if my parents know I had died. Then they will be very miserable. In addition to my child is too young to be independent. All these worries were flashing in my mind. Question, what importance did you place on your religious/spiritual life prior to your experience? Answer, unknown. Question, what was your religion prior to your experience? Answer, unaffiliated atheist. Original family has no any religious faiths. Question, have your religious practices changed since your experience? Answer, yes. I have no intention to blame my doctor at all. I had a chance to experience NDE was because of his mistakes, so I had an insight of the earth and the other realm. Being intimidated by and doubted of death had diminished, as my NDE had completely changed my perspective toward the meaning of life and the ethics of the entire world. To me, it is meaningless when the world is chasing both fame and fortune at win at all costs mentality. Instead, through my NDE experience, I could help people in desperation. Luckily, my experience brings comfort to the dying, elderly, cancer patients, and people with grief of losing loved ones, etc., and this provides support and alleviation to those who are going through dread and mentally suffering. Now, being kind and affectionate to others makes my life full of joy. Question, what importance do you place on your religious/spiritual life after your experience? Answer, moderately important to me. Question, what is your religion now? Answer, unaffiliated atheist. Question, did your experience include features consistent with your earthly belief? Answer, content was entirely not consistent. I was raised under the influence of father authority, strict family since childhood, so my mind was deep-rooted on Marxism theory. Also, I was an active member in the Communist Party in college. When I started working, I was ambitiously longing for to become a successor of the party and both socialist-minded and professionally competent. Hence, I disliked idealism, having no attachment with any religions or superstitions. Nevertheless, the incredible things happened to me, especially I was a die-hard atheist. Question, did you have a change in your values and beliefs because of your experience? Answer, yes. I have no intention to blame my doctor at all. I had a chance to experience the NDE was because of his mistakes, so I had an insight of the earth and the other realm. Being intimidated by and doubted of death had diminished, as my NDE had completely changed my perspectives toward the meaning of life and the ethics of the entire world. To me, it is meaningless when the world is chasing both fame and fortune. And I think we might have read that one already. Maybe they just copy and pasted. Here's another one. Question: Did you seem to encounter a mystical being, presence, or hear an unidentifiable voice? Answer: I heard a voice I could not identify to explain exactly what I felt. Something in the unseen world. It seemed like there was a stream of beings guided me. They affirmed my answers, clarified my confusions, and comforted my bewildered heart. I do not know how to describe the stream of being. They were silent, amorphic, yet full of kindness, brightness, compassion, and amiability. They answered all my questions. It felt like being led and enveloped by a spring sunshine. I understood they were beings in a higher level than me in spiritual realm. I called them prophet, the wisdom who communicated to me telepathically, revealing the true colors of the universe, purpose of life, and opened the door of death so I could have a glimpse of the other dimension. Question: How accurately do you remember the experience in comparison to other life events? Answer: I remember it more accurately. During my experience, everything is lucid and unforgettable. Question: Have you ever shared this experience with others? Answer: Yes. When I told the doctors what happened during my NDE, his face turned pale and he looked stunned. Question: Have your relationships changed specifically because of your experience? Answer: Yes. I gave up many unnecessary personal relations. Large changes occurred. Not much explanation, though. Question: What did you believe about the reality of your experience shortly after it happened? Experience was definitely real. It is still unforgettable, so it must have really happened. To me, it is still unforgettable even 20 years later, so it must be really happened. That's end questions and end quotes. I really thought the lots of interesting nuggets there about the molecules or the little pieces of particles gathering together and forming, and how they form, and how she saw them forming, and could see the whole Earth and how it was made like that. Pretty neat. Thank you for listening. You have a great day.